room in the
Maybe the mic. One bad connection. Sorry, that's fine. Right. Thank you.
Looks good.
That's fine. Thank you very much. Thank you, Jonathan. As I was saying, a warm welcome to 2025. I'm Councillor Dave Harris, Chair of the Licensing Committee. I'm Councillor for the Beerchurch Ward. I want to give you a few matters of housekeeping. The action in the event of emergency, there are no practice alarms planned for this evening, so if an alarm sounds, please evacuate the town hall by going down the main staircase or the back staircase to the High Street and then to the car park behind the town hall in St Romwell Street. This meeting is being recorded live over the internet via the Council's YouTube channel and will also be available to watch afterwards. Please would speakers use microphones at all times and speak directly into the microphone as this activates the audio recording. Members of the committee will obviously want to use electronic devices to access their meeting papers, and visitors are welcome to use mobile phones and other devices including cameras, but please use them discreetly, set them to silent, do not use voice or camera flash functions. The provisions in the Constitution of the Council around timing of breaks will apply to this meeting, and we will take a break at 19:30, 7:30, depending on the items of business remaining. I remind all that there are toilets on every floor in the building and an induction loop in this room. I will now ask members and officers of the committee to introduce themselves, starting on my left.
Thank you, Chairman. Licensing, Sarah White, Licensing Team Leader.
Alison Chapman, Licensing Officer.
Karen Booth, Licensing.
That's working now. So I noticed it started going on this side, so I'll definitely try to be very careful to test it. Something's not.
To the viewers at home, we're just checking the microphone system to make sure it's all working.
Thank you. I think they're going to be okay now, but if you wouldn't mind just. I'll get it around the bar. Yes, apologies. Sorry.
No problem.
Yes, you are.
Right, I'm Roger Buston, Prettygate Ward.
Councillor Jeremy Hagan, Stanway Ward.
Councillor Kemal Chufolo for Castle Ward.
Councillor Bixby, Miss Robin Ward.
Councillor Catherine Spindler from the Saints Ward.
Councillor Carl Powling, Mersey Pyfleet Ward.
Matthew Evans, Democratic Services Officer.
Thank you very much, members, and it just shows we're very versatile. We can deal with emergencies in an instant. Good, isn't it? On to item 2 on the agenda, which is substitutions. We are not aware of any substitutions, but I understand there is apologies from one member, Matthew.
Yes, Councillor Barber sends his apologies, Chair.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Item 3, urgent items. I am not aware of any urgent items, so we have none. Item 4, declarations of interest. Could councillors please publicly announce the item number, whether they've got any interest in any item on the agenda? I see no indications. Thank you very much. Item 5. I invite the committee to confirm as a true record the minutes of the Licensing Committee meeting held on the 6th of November 2024. Could I have a proposer, please?
Yeah, agreed. Yeah.
Thank you. Councillor Appleton. Seconder. Thank you very much. Thank you. Item 6. Have your say. Has everyone who wishes to speak registered their name? If not, please do so now. I have no indications, and I like to confirm that we've had no advance indications either, I understand. Thank you very much. Item 7. Okay, this is one of the meat of the agenda tonight. Item 7 is the Hackney Carriage and Private Hire Licensing Policy Revision, a consultation. The committee will receive a report requesting that it considers the results of the consultation on the temporary suspension of the requirement for all licensed Hackney carriage and private hire vehicles to meet the Euro Cap 4 petrol, Euro Cap 6 diesel emission standards as contained within the current policy. And I invite Sarah White, Licensing Team Leader, to present the report.
Thank you, Chairman. I don't actually have too much to add to the report, Chairman, insofar as this is, as you've mentioned, coming back to you to look at the consultations. There were only 3 responses to the consultation, and those were in favour of the 2027 enforcement date. I have pulled out some figures for councillors, just for some, just so you know the numbers that we're talking about now. So the number of non-compliant vehicles in total is 102. The split for that is 69 private hire, 33 Hackneys. And I think from our point of view, possibly the most concerning point here is there are 13 disabled adapted Hackney carriages that would be non-compliant. So if the committee were minded to not go with the 2027 revision date, that would be 13 Hackneys that would need to no longer be in service, that would affect the disabled particularly. So that's a concerning statistic for us, obviously. But the numbers are falling over time, as we would expect from general wear and tear and accidents. Any new vehicles coming on will be compliant. So we'd expect those figures to decline over time. We would expect not to be looking at 102 non-compliant by the time we get to 2017. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you very much for the report. Just to remind members, the policy is already in place, so there's no change to the policy. This is a consult to actually extend and give grace to those that have not brought their vehicle up to modern standards Euro Cap 4 and 6 up until the 1st of January, or not 1st of January 27, for up till 2027, I understand.
Yes, Chairman, we'll begin enforcement from the 1st of January 2027. So at renewal then, all vehicles renewing after that date would expect to be compliant. Obviously, any new vehicles coming on are expected to be compliant right now.
Okay, thank you very much. Members, have we any speakers? Councillor Buston.
Thank you very much indeed, Chair. Yes, I support this, and I thank the officers for the amount of time and effort they've put into this. The original proposal was 2026, not 2027, and a revised proposal, I think, was put forward by my colleague here to my left, which we all supported, and I think that's very sensible. I think we all generally agree with the direction of travel to becoming cleaner, greener, more compliant. I think we all agree with that, but I think we also agree of the sensibility of actually adapting our policies to make sure that it doesn't disadvantage folk that otherwise we possibly could do. So I think we just applying common sense to this, and I think therefore it gets my support. Thank you.
Okay. Councillors, any other speakers? Any other speakers? Councillor Kamal?
Thank you, Chair. I want to thank officers for their report and providing us more details about numbers. I have a question that relates to equality, diversity and human rights implications, and also financial and risk management implications. So the question I have is, assuming that we have an 80-year-old pensioner living on Brook Street and they get a serious asthma attack, or considering the fact that latest scientific reports found substantial ethnic differences in asthma characteristics and outcomes, and that Southeast Asians have substantially poorer lung function and increased rates of asthma hospitalization. My question would be, assuming there is a Malaysian nurse living on Brook Street, working at Colchester Hospital, and then they experience an asthma attack and claim that council pardoning 1 in 6 taxis for failing their, failing to meet regulations, and as council we neither upheld regulations nor try to have conversations with taxi drivers who maybe have some type of agreement or arrangement for carbon offsetting. I was wondering what would be the equality, diversity and human rights implications for elderly and vulnerable people, and what would be the financial and risk management implications if we have residents approaching us saying they are experiencing these type of symptoms, and that we are not upholding and imposing regulations. Just a question.
Okay, for me, that's a good question, but for me, the taxi and private hire is only a proportion of our travelling vehicles on the roads, but I'll let the officer answer in the way that they wish.
Thank you, Chairman. Currently is 102 vehicles. The percentage of particulates that they are emitting over what they would normally emit, sorry, as a percentage of generally the particulates emitted by other vehicles, buses, lorries, other cars in that area. I just don't think it's quantifiable. I don't think from discussions that we've had that there is a risk for us from a risk management. I think it's so tiny as to not be able to be determined, to be honest. So it's not a very detailed response, but it's probably the best response I can give you. And we do expect this to decline over time. We expect more vehicles as they come on to be compliant. So, we have seen a reduction from when we first ran the figures. So we are seeing, as they are replaced, a reduction. So I think we're talking about very small figures that are possibly impossible to actually draw out, Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Buston and then Councillor Osborne.
Thank you, Chair. That was an interesting question. You can never be absolutely certain that nothing will happen. You can never be perfect. Part of our job is to try and introduce a degree of rationality into things and the art of the possible rather than the art of the ideal. The ideal art is that everybody has a new car tomorrow. Well, that's not going to happen. What I think we could do to be helpful in regard to this, and taking the point that was made, is to encourage drivers to upgrade their vehicles as soon as they can and not to wait till the 31st of December 2027 to do it. I'm sure there are ways and means of doing that. Just to remind, in our normal conversations, both with the trade and in other publications, that this is expected, and we will know who the people are who are non-compliant, and perhaps occasionally, like every quarter, we can ask them to update their roadmap to when their vehicle will be compliant, so that officers will be able to keep a handle, if I can put it that way, on how our policy towards this is developing, or every 6 months or whatever it is. We don't want to create too much extra work for ourselves. We want to let people know that we're serious about this and we want it to happen.
Thank you very much, Councillor Buston. Is it possible to ask the 102 if they've got a date where they intend to? Is that what you're saying? I understand it. A date when they intend to upgrade?
I think, Chairman, the plan is once we're certain which way the members are going to decide on this, and obviously it will need to go to full council. We do know obviously who the drivers are, or who the vehicles are, rather I should say. So we will make contact with them and let them know, just in case they're not aware. I think most of them are aware, but just in case they're not. And we will stay on that and we will review that so that no one gets to that date without realising that they should have done something before now.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you for the question. Councillor Osborne.
Thank you. My question is relating to the consultation responses on page 19. I was just wondering if Mr. Ford's proposed amendments to the policy, is that any vehicles licensed previous to the change in 2020 be granted grandfather rights and be allowed to be plated until they reach their 12-year age limit. I was just wondering if we have considered that at all. Thank you ever so much.
The issue of the age, I think, has already been determined by the committee when the age was removed. I think the issue that under discussion here is, or that's raised here, is the conditions that are attached to the vehicle at the time the licence is granted. And there is a widespread, in licensing terms, we always refer to renewals of plates, of vehicle plates, but in actual fact, they are new grants. And that's important because it means that the conditions that are attached to a vehicle on the new grant are actually updated yearly because they are attached at the time that licence is granted, and vehicle licences only last for a year. So I think there's a slight misunderstanding here that the vehicle licence conditions attached, when it was first granted, should last for those 12 years, which were the original age of a vehicle could be licensed. Actually, the vehicle licenses, as I've just said, the vehicle conditions update annually, effectively. So I don't think that we're in a position to revisit that 12-year age limit, Chairman, but take advice of members really on that one.
Good question, Councillor Osborne. I mean, is there any way that that the licensing committee would engage with the gentleman and explain that to him and take him through the whys and wherefores of why the 12 years?
We can. I mean, we have had conversation with a number of people and we can go back again on this matter and explain the situation. You know, the age vehicle's been removed. The fact is the conditions update annually. That's where we are, because it's a new grant of a licence, it's not a renewal. We call it a renewal because in practice, drivers keep the same numbers. It saves them, constantly changing taxi numbers, etc. So it's really an admin thing, and it's how we refer to it. But actually, every year they apply for a new licence, not a renewal.
Thank you for the answer. Does that help, Councillor Osborne?
Thank you, Sarah. That was incredibly helpful. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is that Councillor Powling next? Have I got that right? Yeah. Yes? Yep.
Well, Chair, once again, I'd like to thank you. Obviously, certainly did listen to what we spoke about with the extension of time. And I'd actually be quite happy to propose the revision. I think they certainly did listen, go back and present what we discussed last time, so I'll be happy to propose it.
Thank you for that. And it's seconder. Any other debate before I move on to the recommendation? Okay, so the recommendation that will go to the full council. Okay, so it's for us to pass over to the full council that the requirements contained within section 6.3 of the council's Hackney Carriage and Private Hire licensing policy relating to vehicle emissions standards be suspended for all vehicles which are currently licensed. Any vehicle which is presented for licensing after 1st of January 27 must comply with the following emission standards: Euro 4 for petrol, Euro 6 for diesel vehicles. 2.2 of that recommendation, any vehicle which is presented for licensing as new or permanent replacement vehicle anytime must comply with the following emission standards: Euro 6 for diesel, Euro 4 for petrol. The requirement for all new registrations in 2025, this year, to meet liquid petroleum gas, LPG, low emission or electric hybrid standard to be removed from the policy. That's the recommendation you're just about to vote on. Are you on agreement, members? I have show of hands in favour, please. That sounds unanimous. Thank you very much, Matthew.
I would like to abstain, please.
Oh, you abstained. Okay, thank you very much. I didn't see that. Bless you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, members.
While we're still on this, I just noted the appendix at the bottom of page 19, which says this won't apply to me as my vehicle is Euro 6 diesel. Regardless, though, I would like you to make aware that the majority of cultures operate buses, even if on paper may be complying with low emission regulations, they are not in reality. That's really the point of what he was trying to say, I would suggest, not to do with taxis. All you have to look at is the amount of thick black smoke, etc., etc. Well, we know that. However, it's a good point. Not for this committee, because we don't licence buses, but it's worthwhile noting in the records that, you've got to treat Peter in the same way that you treat Paul, don't you? So that's worth passing on, I would suggest, now that we've noted it in our minutes.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Councillor Bust. Thank you. Item 8 is the next item, which is the scrap metal dealer policy review. So the committee is going to consider a report detailing proposed changes to the council's scrap metal policy and recommends the approval of this draft policy to enable a formal consultation process to take place. The proposed changes are in front of you and intended to improve the clarity of the policy. No substantial content changes have been made. Now I invite Sarah White, Licensing Officer Senior, to present the report.
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, so this report is coming to you as one of the policy reviews that we are required to do. The legislation hasn't changed, and so therefore it's been a light review, just to tidy up a removal or an attempt to remove policy from procedure, or procedure from policy, I should say. To keep the policy clean. We're asking actually whether you want a 6 or a 12-week consultation. 6 weeks is the minimum, 12 weeks is longer. There's been very little change, but it's entirely up to members how long you'd like us to put it out there for. I don't think really I've got anything much to say, Chairman. I'm happy to answer any questions on it. But as I say, the law hasn't changed, so essentially the policy doesn't need to change. We've just tried to make it a little more concise and, as I say, take the process out of it.
Thank you very much, Sarah. Thank you for that. Yes, just to remind members, in 2013 this law came into being to actually curb a problem. Any members wish to comment on this? Councillor Elizabeth, thank you.
Thank you, Chair. My question is around monitoring and enforcement. As a council, how do we monitor that scrap metal dealers are sticking to the rules, and also members of public who submit their private informations and personal details to these dealers? Are we monitoring how these informations are being kept and managed?
Good question. Thank you very much, Sarah.
Thank you, Chairman. Sorry, I've forgotten the first part of that question. Apologies. Sorry, what was the first part of your question?
Are they complying?
Oh, are they complying? Yes, they are complying. We've got some figures, not broken down to Colchester level, but at Essex level. So in the 10 years that my figures cover from the Act into 2013 to 2023, there's been a reduction, I think it works out to about 79% in infrastructure thefts. So from 981 to 206. So it's been very successful in reducing the infrastructure, so cable and that sort of stuff. Arguably, it's probably been less successful in the other reductions. So we've gone from 590 non-infrastructure thefts to only 455. So less successful there, but very successful in arguably to be what it was intended to do, which was to cut the infrastructure, the cabling and the stuff that we saw before that. So it's been quite successful. In terms of monitoring, it's not a huge percentage of our job. Then we don't have a large number. Once this policy has been reviewed and gone through its system, we would like to do a piece of work on scrap metal. But we need this policy updated and approved in order to be able to do that. But it is something that we're looking to do, Chairman.
Thank you. Thank you for the answer. Any other questions? Councillor Spindler. Michael.
Just a quick one. Has anybody been prosecuted for buying metal without a licence in the last 10 years?
In Colchester?
In Essex?
I couldn't say categorically from the joint licensing officer meetings that I go to. I think they are quite active in the south of the county, so I would expect that to be yes. But I can find some figures and come back to you on that one.
Be honest with you, I mean, I've never been asked. I mean, I spent a lot of time with scrap. I've been a demolition contractor. I've never been asked about a licence ever. I don't know anybody's been asked for a licence to say they've bought metal or sold metal.
Really?
No, and I mean, really, yeah.
Yeah.
I've been a victim out of my yard. I've lost about £5,000 or £6,000 over metal in the last 5 years. On site, numerous times you get there in the morning, it's been, they've been there in the evenings stripping it out. It gets sold everywhere. I mean, but if there's no prosecution, I don't even know anybody who's got these scrap metal licences. I mean, I had one 10 years ago. I've never been asked for one, ever.
Really? That's,
Yeah.
that's interesting
There's
information.
there's no enforcement with it.
No, I mean, as I say, the south of the county, they have been very active, but what that looks like in terms of, the actual enforcement, and I know that officers have been looking, they put a lot of effort into the paperwork and what was required and what was reasonable and what people could carry, etc. There was a lot of work done there, but I can find out, I can ask my colleagues elsewhere. I mean, certainly in Colchester, no, I can say that.
So I'd just be interested to see what the numbers are saying. And I know a lot of scrap metal dealers, they've never been asked for a licence ever to sell it or buy it,
Yeah, I mean, they should be holding, they should be having the records. As I say, we do want to do this, but we need this policy in force to be able to do it, because currently we can't enforce this without this policy.
I mean, we had on CCTV stealing about a tonne and a half of lead out of our yard, and we knew who it was, we gave the police the name of the person, everything else, and nothing happened. Nothing at all. Because they can sell it cheaper to certain scrap yards where they don't ask no names, don't ask no details. I can't say who it is, I wouldn't say it was. But it does happen, There's unscrupulous dealers out there, like there is in everything else. But if the people don't ask for it, then, they've got to enforce it, haven't they?
No, I mean, that's very helpful feedback, and we'll
Thank you.
perhaps have that conversation outside of this meeting.
Thank you. I saw a couple of other hands go. Councillor Cummell?
Thank you. Yes, my question is there a specific reason behind removing section 1.3, which talks about council's power to better regulate these industries, and section 1.7, which refers to things that we need to assess? Are we moving them to another piece of document?
The 1.3 is actually referencing previous legislation, which is the old Scrap Metal Act from 1964 and the Vehicle Crime Act from 2001. So it's just a tidying up, really. It hasn't changed. The legislation, the council is the appropriate authority. We don't really feel we need to say that in 1.3. 1.7 is further down in 6.3, and there's a whole section on suitability, so it's just been moved down there. So it's just rejigged it, really, the second one. And 1.3 is just a tidy up and a change. It doesn't change the fundamentals of it.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Buston?
Thank you. And thank you again for the work you've done on this. I can see it wasn't, the rewording wasn't done by a lawyer, in that lawyers are paid by the word, and you've taken lots of words out. No, it wouldn't do. It really wouldn't do. Saying the taxpayer. No, seriously, I think it's very sensible, the rationalisation of it. In passing, how many scrap metal dealers are registered within the city area, Sarah? Do you know?
I do know, but it's going to take me just a few minutes to
Approximately,
find that.
give or take?
Within
a few hundred?
Approximately,
3.
no, it's around about 10, or it was around about 10. But this is the issue. We think some of these licences have lapsed. We moved over to a new back office system, and with that all the records moved over, and it would be fair to say that didn't go particularly well, and we are in the process of trying to sort that out. So there are, obviously we have some sites registered, we have some collectors registered. We are reasonably confident there are people out there who are unlicensed, and we need to follow that up. Yeah. So we had a lot on there. How many of those are actually active now is the piece of work that we want to do with this policy behind us to back us up with any action that we need to take. But so some actively register, some I suspect, and as previously indicated, do not register, and we need to follow those up.
And are we, as part of this consultation, I'll support 6 weeks, not 12, because we're going to get it done and out there. Will we be trying to reach out to those folk who
Absolutely.
have escaped our net so far?
Absolutely, we'll be consulting with everybody that's on our list.
So a quick trip to Yellow Pages then?
Yes, and the internet, yes, indeed.
Okay, no, thank you, I support that and I would propose acceptance.
Thank you very much for the question. Any other questions? Councillor Osborne.
Would you say that you're fairly confident of the implementation of this policy will have a reduction on crime? Thank you.
I'm not sure, well, insofar as it will enable us to take enforcement action, then I suppose the answer is yes. Yes, it is, yes.
Okay. Councillor Pelly.
Well, getting back onto what the councillor says there, it's I take scrap to scrap metal because I'm an electrical contractor. They do take my name and address, but I think it could, like say, if you're doing a review, be good to actually, when companies go in, get the name of the company, because even within our own, you'll get people just take stuff in there that possibly doesn't belong to them, should we say, some of your employees, where it's going in, but you could say, can we have the company to see where it comes from? Because, like here, I've actually had cable stolen from sites, and a lot of it, and they walk in, they'll give their name and address, but it's not theirs. So it could be interesting possibly to sort of tighten that record of where, because it would be quite handy, but I would be happy to second Councillor Buston's with the 6-week consultation.
Thank you. I note that. And the question, Sarah?
I think mine was more of a note looking into the afterwards.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly something that we'll have a look at. But.
And there was a question, I think, Councillor Elizabeth Jarmi mentioned about was the data protection of the people that hold these licences. They must keep adequate records, it says, names and addresses and bank details, etc. And I think, is that checked?
Chairman, we can check that because they're supposed to hold those records. They are the data controller for that information once they collect it. So that will, any enforcement or any breach would be theirs, not the council's.
Yeah, of course. Any other questions? I've got a proposal and a seconder. The only thing that I think Councillor Buston said 6 weeks rather than 12, so the proposal was 6. So any takers for 6? Are you all willing to go to the vote now? Okay, you all content? Can we show of hands? Okay, looks like that's unanimous as well, Matthew. Thank you very much. Good, thank you. And just finishing off, I suppose that goes to the register of the people we've got now.
Yeah, Chairman, it will go to everybody that we've ever had listed, whether we think they're operating or not, and it will go to anybody else that we may have found. And obviously we'll put it on the council website as well, but we'll do our best efforts to get to all those that we should. And then once it's through, we'll do that process of making sure that everybody is licensed. And then we can go through and check all the records, Chairman.
So I'd encourage, certainly Councillor Spinder was very eloquent about saying about the things that he knew about. So anybody who knows anybody that's not registered or give that information, I'd encourage them to give that information to the licensing team. Thank you. Okay. Which brings us on to item 9. The work programme 2024-25, and I invite Matthew Evans to present the report, please.
Thanks, Chair. Just a couple of changes to the work programme. So 2 reports which were previously scheduled to come here have been deferred till the next meeting of the committee, which is the 19th of March, and that's the unmet demand survey results. Now, that was the external report, wasn't ready for that to come here, and a review of the collection policy of the council. So just to ask the committee to note that, please. Thank you.
Members? Councillor Buston.
Thank you, Chairman. You'll not be surprised at my disquiet at not seeing in our work programme the CCTV in taxis item, etc.
Is the body of work going ahead? I think we've got Paul off at the moment.
We have got Paul off, Chairman. Yes, I did think it was on there, to be fair. Anyway, we are working through the tax policy. We are getting close to the end. I'm looking at my colleagues. We're getting close to the end, so we are going to be in a position to bring that back to members fairly soon. And actually, at the next chairman and group spokespersons briefing, we've got a few things that we would like a steer on from you. So we'll be talking about that at the beginning of February. So I think, subject to that conversation, we're in a position possibly to come back. I think we need to talk it through with the chairman and group spokespersons first, but we're certainly drawing to a close on the changes that we'd like to suggest to members and bring to members.
Will that be March, or will that be a date after that, do you think?
I mean, I think it could be March, but it's probably not for me to ultimately commit, because obviously, as you know, Paul's off and Andrew acts in his stead, so I would need to have a conversation with Andrew. But it's taken us a very long time to review the policy as officers, but we're nearly there, and I would hope to conclude that work in the next 2 to 3 weeks, 3 weeks or so. And then, but we do need a steer from members on a few issues, particularly around statutory standards and which way members would like to go on things like door signs and other matters. So we'll bring those to the chairman and group spokespersons to get a steer, and then to the policy, subject to Andrew being happy with it and it not needing to go anywhere else, back to members.
Thank you very much for that. Any other comments, please? All in agreement? Looking back myself over the past few months, we've done a good body of work here, and I commend the officers and the committee itself for the work they've done over that time, as is always the case with this committee. I think I'm quite proud of the work that you all do as a team, so thank you. Item 9, that was the end of that. I think that's the end of the meeting, I see. So I close the meeting formally, and thank you for your attendance. Look forward to seeing you on the 19th of March. Thank you.